Yesterday afternoon, in the Oval Office, Trump announced some new executive actions to protect Social Security. And in doing so, he revealed the truth about what's really been going on there with illegal immigrants and benefits. You know, all the things the media and the Democrats told you wasn't happening. Take a look.
Security. He's running it, and he's running it like nobody ever even dreamt possible. And it's the 90th anniversary right now of Social Security. So today we celebrate that 90th anniversary of one of the most significant pieces of Social Security Act of 1935, and we're going to make it stronger, bigger, and better. Really doing a job. In the campaign, I made a secret pledge to our seniors that I would always protect Social Security, and under this administration, we're keeping that promise and strengthening Social Security for generations to come. You keep hearing stories that in 6 years, 7 years, Social Security will be gone, and it will be if the Democrats ever get involved because they don't know what they're doing. But it's going to be around a long time with us. Very much, you'll be surprised to hear some of the numbers. I'm delighted to be joined by the Commissioner of the Social Security Administration, Frank Bisignano. Oh, in the world of business, in fact, I wrote some of the little things down that he's had an amazing, he was Chief Operating Officer of J.P. Morgan Chase. He worked for Jamie Dimon, and Jamie Dimon said that he was amazing. So think of that, Chief Operating Officer, J.P. Morgan Chase, had a storied career. Then he went to First Data. For those in the business, you'd know it's the largest payment company anywhere in the world. And worked for Henry Kravis, and it was in big trouble. He took it over as CEO. He made it incredible. They merged with Fiserv, and he became CEO of that, and that became extremely successful. That was in Milwaukee. I guess they have the Milwaukee Arena, and where we had some good success and some good speeches. But he's a really legendary guy, and he wanted to do this. I mean, he just wanted to straighten out Social Security because he loves our country. And what he's done in a few months is amazing. Almost 60 million American seniors rely on Social Security for peace of mind and a life of dignity in retirement.
All right, I like him best when he goes off script, but he went back on script there. And then he got to the crux of the matter with regard to illegal immigrants who have been accessing the Social Security rolls, thus weakening the program and, of course, making it potentially a disaster in the future since there's not enough money in the trust fund. So watch this.
This month, I signed one big, beautiful bill and allowed no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. Okay, so how's that? Not bad, right? No tax on Social Security for our seniors. And to protect our benefits, we've already kicked nearly 275,000 illegal aliens off of the Social Security system. These are people, many of them have already left the country, and yet we were sending them checks all the time. And 275,000, and that number is now even larger than that, Frank. It's an unbelievable job. And what that's doing is making the system strong. It's making it strong. Biden never kicked anybody off. Everybody joined. And we're carrying out historic deportations to remove many more illegals committing Social Security fraud. It's the Social Security fraud that was taking place at levels that nobody's ever seen.
All right, let's bring in our buddy Chris DeGaulle. He's from the Salem Radio Network, of course, every morning from 6 to 9 Eastern and on Salem News Channel. Chris, it's actually a remarkable thing if you think about it. 275,000 illegal aliens already just in a handful of months that they've identified and kicked off the Social Security rolls. And I just want to go back to the original talking point. We were told this wasn't happening. We were told that there is no fraud. We were told that this is all a myth. And yet there you have it. At what point will people start actually believing what this administration says instead of buying the hype from the left?
Yeah, I thought this week watching Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass jumping up and down, screaming and shrieking about the ICE agents out there at their little press conference. They were in a snit because they didn't like the appearance of the ICE agents there, and they don't like the deportations going on in California, and it's hand in glove, the very same issue. They deny illegals are a problem. They deny that illegals are really that big a presence. And now we see, yes, hundreds of thousands of them drawing Social Security, and of course, millions of them being counted in our census. And so they're not afraid of anything except the head count diminishing as long as Trump continues deportations.
When the reforms came in on the big, beautiful bill package, Republicans said, we're going to fix some problems. They're going to find waste, fraud, and abuse, which is what politicians in D.C. say all the time, and then they never do. Democrats said, oh, no, you're cutting these programs. They're cutting these programs. And Republican response was perfectly reasonable. No, we're not. We're just removing the people who aren't supposed to be getting the benefits in the first place. And they were right. That is what they're doing.
Yeah, and it's going to be insolvent soon enough, Social Security, if something isn't done. And this is a start. It's a fine start. Of course, I know Trump is also trying to move to allocate other maybe means of revenue into Social Security, maybe 401ks and other things to kind of help bolster the fund. But yeah, this is it has to be an all hands on deck approach to save it, if in fact you're interested in saving Social Security. And this is a big one, an obvious one.
If they're interested in saving it, and that is the key. I read somewhere, and I'm sorry I don't have it at my fingertips, but you remember when George W. Bush was president, and he tried to have some private savings accounts so people could opt into a 401k style, which, by the way, is what federal employees get to have. They have a special 401k just for federal employees. They have lots of investment options that get to participate in Wall Street and the financial markets for private investments instead of how Social Security is managed. And of course, Democrats stopped him from doing it. You're going to ruin it. You're going to do, oh my gosh, it's going to be a disaster for Social Security. Had George W. Bush in the early 2000s gotten his way and been able to partially privatize and allow people to opt into private savings accounts, Social Security would be solvent now for the next 100 years.
Yeah. I remember in college back in the 90s, this was before they even began to start teaching financial literacy to kids. I had one media professor, believe it or not, who was pretty savvy with money. And every semester, he would pull kids that wanted to aside and do one lesson on how to save and grow your wealth. So you got a bunch of kids in their late teens and early 20s. And I remember back then, this is when funds were drawing like 12% or something. I mean, it was much higher than now, but he said, you take $100 a month, you people in your 20s right now, $100 a month, I'll make you a millionaire by the time you're 65. Now, I don't know if that math really checks out, but it would be a substantial sum. I mean, imagine all of us having that Social Security deduction withdrawn by the government, fine. But yes, tucked into a market-based fund with compound interest. We would all be far better off than the Social Security check we're getting.
You're right. And again, Trump, when he was running for office, said that he would do this. They said he was a liar and it's fraud and it's not happening, but he did, in fact, just do it. He also said he would cut taxes on anyone receiving Social Security under a certain income bracket. And yesterday, he made good on that one as well.
Both commemorating the 90th anniversary of the Social Security Act, the signing of the Social Security Act, and also the incredible accomplishments of your administration fixing and promoting and safeguarding Social Security. And it also obviously mentions the fact that as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill, a vast majority of our senior citizens are no longer paying taxes on their Social Security benefits, as you promised in your campaign and as you delivered for the American people.
That's a big factor, isn't it? Huh?
Yes, sir.
That's great. I think they're very happy about it, too. They're very happy about a lot of things. Good job, Frank.
Thank you, sir.
And Frank has brought with him some of the most talented people in business, and they were making a lot of money, but they made a lot of money. They had money they didn't have to make anymore, and they just want to do this. They want to have our country become strong and good, and that's what's happening. And we're doing that in a lot of locations, a lot of areas. You deal with some of the people that are commissioners, that are secretaries of state, secretaries of treasury and commerce, people that were really, really successful people. And they gave all that up to make a very small amount of money. They don't even consider it a fraction. You say 1%, less than 1%. That's pretty good. That's a big pay cut. But Frank is one of the most outstanding of all. His career has been incredible. And you just have to look at what happened at JP Morgan Chase and look at what happened with First Data. First Data was the biggest company of its kind.
I love Trump in his element where he's talking about these guys in New York, these bankers, these financial guys, and he's brought a lot of them, including this dude who's now running Social Security, into this administration. And he seems impressed with successful people, Chris. But let's get back to the cutting of taxes on Social Security. Just like that, with the stroke of that pen that you just saw, millions and millions and millions of senior citizens who are on a fixed income, they just got a pay raise. They just got a double down on the promise that American generations have made for them through Social Security. These are going to be boomers. It's my mom who just lost her husband earlier in the year, and she is concerned financially about what her future is. She just got a cut on all of her taxes on Social Security. That's such a big deal. Doesn't a lot of these retirement group organizations, you know who they are, who supposedly stand up for senior citizens' rights, but they're really just, shell organizations for the Democrats? They look kind of like idiots today, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I mean, Axios reports today, if you believe it, that seniors in the next 7 years who draw Social Security could lose effectively $18,000 per year, just because the money's not there. And so if it's not restored and brought back to health, you're going to start seeing diminishing returns as it is. So Trump is trying to offset that. And that's fantastic. And, I think there was some, it got lumped into no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. And I think a lot of people assumed that meant when that deposit is made or that check comes, there would be no tax taken out of that particular deposit that day. This is really something that you'll collect come tax filing season.
Yeah.
So people maybe aren't totally clear on that. They think that, and by the way, I mean, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. I'm sure the math doesn't work out if they just stop taxing Social Security altogether, because it's outrageous that they do, truthfully. I mean, I don't know why we pay twice on something that we already had taken out of our check, but neither here nor there. It is a start. It is something. I mean, Trump's doing everything he can possibly do with that pen.
Yeah.
And Congress can't keep up with him, of course. Media can't keep up with him. He's fun to watch. He's trying to do everything he promised.
Well, you're right. And by the way, I want to give a hat tip to Elon Musk here. The guy has been dragged so mercilessly because of what he did with Doge, not attempted to do, but he really did do it. He uncovered the fraud and abuse with illegal immigrants who were getting Social Security checks. Again, something that Democrats have told us is just not happening. In fact, we were told it's great to have illegal immigrants. In fact, they're paying into the system. The system's better because they're here, which only makes sense if you recognize that they're using somebody else's Social Security number and committing identity theft. But also, Doge uncovered a bunch of other fraud in Social Security that Trump identified yesterday in the office. Here, a little bit more from Trump yesterday.
Nobody's ever seen. We cleared 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database over 120 years of age. Think of that. So we had 12.4 million names where they were over 120 years old. Is that right? That's a hell of a statement. I have a feeling, Dan, that's not really really didn't happen, did it? So you have 12.4 million names listed in the Social Security database that were over 120 years of age, meaning you were breaking records, because I've never heard of anybody at 125. There were nearly 135,000 people listed who were over 160 years old, and in some cases getting payments. So somebody's getting those payments, and we're after that. We're also fighting the menace of inflation to make life more affordable for American seniors, and we've ended Biden's inflation nightmare. So we have the worst inflation in the history of our country.
All right. So, Chris, I want to go back to all of the naysayers and all of the critics. I had a guy from the AARP on the program, and he was like, Social Security's in trouble. We got to raise taxes, raise taxes. We got to raise taxes. We got to raise taxes. It's like, dude, why don't we find out what's wrong with Social Security first? Why don't we audit it? Why don't we actually get all of the waste, fraud, and abuse out? And he was like, no, that's minimal. It's minimal. We really have to raise taxes, because that's all they've got. That's all they know how to do. And it seems like Trump has put together a team that says, let's not keep looking at things the same way DC always looks at it. Let's actually bring a fresh approach. And it's nice to see it working.
It's funny you bring up the AARP. I don't think I'm talking out of school here, but they spent a pretty sizable sum of money advertising their fight to protect Social Security. And they did so on my show. And one of their guys came on my show, and he spent money to be there. And I'm fully transparent about it. So I'm not telling anybody anything they don't know. But one of the things I said was, okay, we both agree. Let's save Social Security. On that, we can agree. I said, but one of the few things I agreed with Al Gore about years ago was that lockbox, the idea that once we put the money in it, it gets locked away there and nobody can spend it. And the guy kept insisting that, oh, well, that's a myth. That's a myth. It's a trust, and Congress has got to pay it back year after year after year. And the thing that he wanted to argue with me about, to your point, is that Congress continues. Yes, he acknowledged they borrow it, but they have to pay it back. And my point was,
says who?
Well, that's exactly right. First of all, who's governing that? Secondly, if something's sitting and acquiring interest versus being spent and paid back later, it's losing. I mean, so it's a losing prospect. And he continued to insist that the system was just fine, even if they spent our Social Security money. Right. They have to pay it back every year by law, he said. And I just thought, well, okay, like I know you're not here to argue that, but that's a broken system. That's silly. That's a Ponzi scheme by definition, is it not?
Yeah. Well, and these organizations are part of that system. That's the big deal, and that's the big issue. And yeah, there is a lot of money.
Like, why defend that? I don't mean to pick on people that spent money on my show, but I don't understand defending that. I'll get on board saving the fund with you, but we got to fix the way it's done.
So, I mean, this again seems to add to a long list of things. And let's call Republicans out on this, because there were plenty of Republicans in Washington, D.C. holding elected office who were freaking out because they are terrified of the talking point of the Democrats saying they're ruining Social Security. They're ruining Social Security. Why can't they actually recognize and get on board with their president, who Donald Trump, every single time they say he's dead, it's over, he can't come. Look at how many times he comes back and he wins and he defies the conventional wisdom. And yet the professional politicians in this town can't figure out to say, you know what, maybe we should jump on board with this guy. If he says he's going to fix Social Security, if he thinks that it's fraud, let's go with it.
I don't know exactly how it's done in terms of communication. Trump, masterful at it. So if anybody can do it, he can. But you'll recall, and it's long been discussed, poor Widow's Peak Paul Ryan, who tried to have this conversation, to his credit, and then brought out the charts and graphs and looked like your nerdy cousin, and nobody wanted to listen to him. And all that became was he wants to throw your grandmother off the cliff. And so anytime you talk about this subject, it scares old people. It just does. You mentioned your mom. I mean, my parents are collecting. If they truly felt that stream of income from Social Security went away, it would decimate them. And so for old people who are terrified of losing that check, all you have to say is, they want to screw with your check. And it's enough to get the largest voting bloc in this country, people who are collecting Social Security, scared out of their minds to act. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. So I'm wondering, maybe you think so. Can Trump come up with a message that's better than Paul Ryan and the charts and graphs to not scare old people, but fix this thing?
Well, I think actually cutting the taxes and letting people see that their check is going to grow every year is a big start of it. I think that there will be rebuilding some trust there with him, that he's actually increased their bank account. That's a good start. And yeah, I think that more of this, more of demonstrations that those same people who claim they were protecting your Social Security were allowing people who aren't even supposed to be getting a check. You wonder why your check is smaller? It's because other people are taking that money out of the pot who aren't supposed to be there. They're not.
Congress is spending it, and they're spending it. And I mean, imagine going to your bank and depositing $5,000, and you find out the bank's been running around buying new office furniture for the bank with it. We'll pay you back. I mean, it would be outrageous, of course.
Wait, hold on. I'm having trouble imagining having $5,000 in the bank. I work in radio. I have 4 kids. I have 2. Well,
no, I'm with you. That's a 10-year savings I was bragging about there.
I'm about to say I had 2 wives. I have 1 wife. I have 1 ex-wife.
You have a much younger new wife, though. And that's an expensive hobby. That's why you don't have much money.
Younger than what exactly? What are you getting at, Chris? Thanks so much, as always, Chris DeGaulle, for joining us on this Friday. My best friend, really. No, really. Published by the Herzog Foundation, The Lion is where you want to go if you care about the direction of this country. Please read The Lion. The Herzog Foundation is the national leader in Christian education. The Lion is an award-winning news site delivering sharp, timely reporting on what's really happening in America's schools, culture, and government. It's the kind of journalism that cuts through the noise and gives you the full picture, especially when it comes to the growing movement toward Christ-centered education. But the Lion goes beyond classrooms. It covers parenting, faith, freedom, cultural battles, shaping our future. Just like its namesake, the Lion embodies strength and courage, standing firm in a landscape where too many have surrendered our children's future to the left's ideology. Visit readlion.com. Sign up for that daily and weekly newsletter so you never miss a headline. Readlion.com. Clarity, courage, and news that keeps you informed and equipped.